just tell us a little bit about that song, how it got started, how it got written.
Yeah.
Because it's a masterpiece. It's so good. I mean, I'm not trying to overhype it. I mean, obviously we all know, if you're listening to this podcast, you've heard this song already, but like, it's so great. But I'd love to hear just like what was like the kernel of this song?
So, I mean, to this day, like I'll always be really just grateful to be a part of that song and the way that it all kind of happened and came about. And
right.
There's a lot of different kinds of, like, I feel like with songs, often they can be quite difficult to write and you got to grind.
Yep.
This one, we worked really hard and for a long time, but it felt so easy. Like every time we did it, something just got better.
Right.
Which is rare. I feel like the more you work on a song, often it gets worse.
Yeah, the law of diminished returns.
Yeah, completely.
Yeah, right.
It started actually with myself and Michael Fatkin. We were in,
amazing.
He's great friend,
Shoutout
great
to
producer.
Michael.
I started calling him Mykin.
Mykin, just
do you like that?
Shorten it up.
Yeah.
All right.
I feel like it'd be a good DJ name for him. Mykin.
Yep. And Bali.
Yeah. So we started working on this song it was for the Let There Be Light record. We didn't have a Let There Be Light song yet.
Okay.
Which came in the end. But we were trying to write to that gap. And we didn't really have a lot of up songs. So we were trying to write like a song one Sunday morning kind of song.
This is always the
hardest thing in the world. Yeah. Unless you're Phil Wickham. And then
I've literally said this on the podcast before. Phil has an anointing.
Yeah,
for
completely.
Sure.
He's so good at his. I love that new song he just put out.
I do too.
This Is Our God.
This Is Our God. Yeah, this is so
awesome.
good.
So we were trying to write to that space.
Yep.
And the song was called Origin of Light.
Yep.
And so but there's a lot of aspects of it that were similar, but it's missing a lot of the kind of I guess the little magic pieces that make So Like what it is.
Right.
So Joel heard this song and we'd never written together and he texted me, but we talked about writing. We'd hung out a little bit.
Yep.
And he was like, bro, I heard this song. I really love it. I've got a couple of ideas. Do you mind if I like kind of jump in with you? And I was like, no, please. And he came back 30 minutes later with, so the chorus or the verses started with like God of creation. Like we kind of had that.
Yep.
And the first chorus, like, as you speak, 100 billion galaxies are born. But the end of the chorus was like, and the da 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 da, Jesus Christ, the origin of light. Like it was kind of,
it's good.
It's good.
It's good.
Yeah.
We're not mad.
Yeah, but it's not great. And he came back with the third chorus and was like, as you speak, 100 billion failures disappear. And I was like, oh, wow. Like I can see, it was like all of a sudden I just saw like
the path.
This whole new trajectory for the song.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, bro, I love this. And I remember saying to him, I wish I could find the text from this. I remember saying, I love this. I was like, no one's going to sing it now, but at least we'll like it. And he replied, I think you'll be surprised what people will sing.
Oof.
And
he knew.
And I even then remember thinking like, no chance. And when the song, I'll come back to like the process, but when the song came out, I remember saying to like, it was a creative pastor in Sydney at the time. She was like, hey, like this, I love this song. I can't wait to hear people sing in church. I was like, we're not going to do that song in church. And she was like, oh yeah, we are doing it this Sunday. I was like, no one's going to sing it. Like,
this is the special.
Yeah. I was like, is it an item or like, what's up? She's like, no, we're going to do it. And I'm like, no one's going to sing that song. And she's like, I bet they will. And I was, at the time I was teaching at our college. I was like, if people sing that song, I'll quit teaching songwriting.
Okay.
And a couple of weeks later, I was in a service and I heard people kind of really grabbing it. And I sent her a video. I was like, I guess I'm resigning.
That's amazing.
So yeah, we kind of went on this journey then. Joel and I kind of went into the vortex for the first time together.
Okay.
Which was really fun.
And you've definitely been
in
we've
the been back there
since then.
Yeah. And we were just kind of over the course of a year, we would kind of occasionally pick this thing up and text each other and have ideas. And I'd be kind of working on it in the background. He'd be working on it in the background. And then I was actually here on vacation with my family. We were in like Florida, actually at Disneyland with my parents.
Yeah.
I remember texting Joel being like, hey, I'm in America. I was like, do you want me to swing by New York? We could work in the song.
Yep.
And he didn't reply for like a month. And then he replies this one day. It's like the last day of our vacation. And he replies and he's like, hey, do you want to come to New York today? And I was like, I probably can't just come to New York today. He was like, okay, well, what about LA tomorrow? And I was like, sure. So I kind of moved my flights. The rest of the family went home. And I went to LA for the very start. It was like the first day they started working on Wonder. We were at Record Plant. And we kind of just started. It was really cool to be around for that whole process. And, it's kind of the first album that I was kind of like really involved in. Yeah. And we just sat and worked. The song we were going to work on in the studio that day was Homeward, which was the first song I kind of released for my record. And we lined that up to do it. And Joel was like, what about that other thing we have? And we kind of picked that up. And it just kind of felt really good. So we just took that into the studio. And it was really funny. Everything just started kind of coming together. Like, we didn't have the da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. But we needed a bridge. So we kind of came up with that whoa section. And Joel just started singing that melody over the top. I was like, that's really cool. And then I started singing it back. And he's like, did you just say so will I? And I was like, no. He's like, that's kind of cool. And so that was how that happened.
You're like, maybe I did.
And so, but again, that section's not in the chorus yet as well. It's just like the chorus is this, and just it felt like every time we worked on it. So we kind of recorded the drums. The song's very much still in pieces. And in the booth, and we got back to Sydney at some point, and we took it in the studio, and I just kind of went in to record the vocal. And as we're recording through the vocal, and again, I didn't know I was recording the vocal. I thought I was tracking a demo. But I was like, this is a very comprehensive demo. But I was kind of new to this. So I was like, I guess these guys take this really seriously.
I mean, these guys are pros.
There's the pros. So we would kind of get to a section and then be like, that doesn't feel quite right. And then we'd go out, work on it, come back in. So it's kind of like in live time, we're writing and recording.
Crazy.
And anyway, it
after
just
months of texting. Back and forth. And
we had so many lyrics and lines that
I love that about you Joel. Like a lot of y'all in your crew. Like, tell me about that too, because you're not afraid to like write and then rewrite and then like try and be like
completely.
What is that inside of you? Like, how do you know how to like push, or like why? What's inside of you that's like wanting to keep pushing? And then when do you know that like there it is?
That's the hard.
That's the art of it, obviously.
And that's the hard bit, because I think maybe because I feel like that kind of crew that I really started to write, especially worship music with, they all kind of have worked like that. Like Fielding, Ruben, Marty, Joel, like they are not. They're okay to throw out anything, for the thing that they feel like is the best part of the song. So we could work on something for ages, and then it's like next time you work on it, it's like, oh, nah, but that little bit's really good, so let's start there. And there's a lot of that, and there always has been. So it kind of just, I think,
like that's the norm.
So that became very much a part of the way I wrote, especially with like Marty really took me under his wing I'd finished college, just got married. I was landscaping. Amazing. So I was like just trying to make money. And I would landscape every day except Wednesdays. I would take Wednesdays off and book sessions. And Marty and I would always write, and we'd do a bunch of stuff. And that was the period we wrote Praise the Name.
Amazing.
But he was like in this real, Marty's one of the most fascinating people I ever meet, because he gets like obsessed with certain things. And at that time he was really obsessed about songwriting. And specifically like kind of Max Martin, like what makes a song a song? What are all the elements?
What are they?
That's a good question. We should get Marty on. We would go through, I could give you aspects actually. If we have time, I could break down Praise the Name, because that one was a great example of like kind of this mixture of like heart and methodical. But we would write, and it was almost like training. Like it wasn't, we very rarely actually got songs. But he'd be like, okay, today we're going to write a song, and it's only got a 4-note range.
Love it. And so you'd limit yourself.
And we did that all the time. And it's so frustrating. And you'd be so tired at the end of the day, because you'd be like, we just spent 10 hours and we didn't get anything.
And all we thought about were 4 notes.
Yeah, completely. And it's for me, that was such a hard, it felt so, like that bit felt uninspiring and was driven by the wrong thing. But I'm really grateful for the practice of it. Because now I can do that, and it doesn't feel limiting.
Right.
I feel like now I can, if I decided I want to do a 4-note song, it's probably not the way I would do it, but I can do things like, okay, I want this bridge to start after the beat. And I can just do that, and it doesn't feel like I'm cheating the art. Like
it's like you learn the rules and then you figured out how to kind of like, how to either leverage them or break them.
Yeah, exactly. Right? Manipulate them, essentially.
Yep.
So I just feel like that kind of thing was a part of it's definitely a part of the fabric.
Yeah, of just like you're pushing in on those, like anything that's just not settled quite yet. And then how do you know though, like when's that moment where you're like,
I think that's where we mess up, because I think it's really hard to stop once you go down that road.
Yeah,
it's really hard to know when to quit. And there's something I think we sometimes spend too long, and like we could write a song really quickly and it would probably be good.
Right.
But we go down all these rabbit holes just in case.
Do you have people around you that are helpful in that process? Because sometimes I know for me, because I can kind of do that same thing, even on like the most simplest songs. We're like, yeah, but if I move this here, and do that, that's different, or that and then for me, I'm so deep into it, but I need somebody who's not in the vortex to go like, stop. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, which is my wife.
Yep.
But I find it really hard to listen to her in those scenarios, which
because you're in a vortex.
Because I'm in a vortex.
Yeah.
And she's right most of the time, but she's like, you're butchering this. She's like, that was really good before and you just ruined it. And she's pretty brutal in that regard. But and most of the time she's right. Occasionally there's been like 1 or 2 times where I just persevered and I feel like I was happy with where I landed.
Yep.
And so that's probably just enough in me to be like, well, what if you're wrong? And that's all I need to kind of keep digging. Does that make sense?
It does.
So I actually need to get better at I torture myself with that side of
that side of the process.
And really the whole thing. So now I'm making a record like for myself. Yeah. It was like horrible because there's every single detail I'm thinking about. And even when I'm working with a producer, I realized that like there's things that I'm holding back. Because I'm like, I can't overwhelm them with everything in my head right now. There's like, I'm listening to this track and I really love where it's going. Yep. And I need you to know that. Yep. But if I tell you the 20 things that I think are wrong with it at the same time, you're going to think I hate the whole thing. But I don't. I'm just like,
I just need to chase. I got to push on all these buttons.
Yeah. So I'm going to give you 5 right now and act like everything else is fine. And then tomorrow I might bring up a couple more. But then people are really frustrated. Anyway, I think that's frustrating.
No, but I think though, because even in this song on So Will I, it's like the lyrics, obviously and the melodies. One thing I think is interesting about this song, and just from the theme and all of it, I think it's so amazing. Is like what you're saying is like really simple in the song. Like you kind of you're saying like one thing.
Sure.
Like if this is true of you, or if this is worshiping you, this part of creation is worshiping you, God, so will I. Yeah. Like that's kind of like the idea. Yeah. But then y'all figured out a way to go, okay, and into that idea, let's go 1,000,000 miles down below the surface into that thought. Yeah. But I think because the thought is so clear, like it's so clear throughout, and like everything comes up underneath that main true idea or whatever. Yeah. It like, I don't know, I think that's one of the things that helps. Like when you were saying, I don't think anybody will sing it. Yeah. But like I think that's the thing where I'm not really thinking. I'm not having to overthink my way through this song, because you're just reinforcing every lyric. It's just unfolding that thing, that idea. But one of the things that I was listening, just kind of thinking about you and me hanging today, was just like how did you get into like using the word of God? Like there's this thread of his words, like, and what the power of his words to speak creation, the power of his words to say it is finished on the cross. Sure. You know, like what was it? How did that like come up in your heart as you were
in the song? Yeah. I'm not sure, other than to say like, I think, and that's often for me how it happens in songs. Like I very rarely would start with the scripture or start with something like, but it kind of is like, as you're digging and as you're mining, it's almost like you stumble across them, for me at least. Yeah. So it'd be like, I'm digging down this thought and I'm like, oh, that ties to that. Great. Or we're going down here, oh, that ties to that. Yep. So I think for me, that's kind of how it happens. It's like in the in the mining.
Yep.
It's almost like they're down there waiting,
Right.
and you stumble across them.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
For sure.
But I know for other people they'll start with. I've heard that a lot, like panels about always start with the scripture, like Tomlin will say that, which I think is really cool.
Right.
But I've just, again, it's just not my
That's
process. It's never how I've been able to do it.
Right.
It just doesn't. It never works for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, one of the things you said before I thought was interesting with the like people singing it and the
main idea being
after I had that conversation where I was like, I'm going to quit songwriting, like if people sing this, I was tortured by I was like, well, why does it work? Like, I need to know why. Why is this working? And I was like, I know, and I do think there's like a certain wind that sometimes God just kind of puts on a song.
Right.
But I think the song needs to be functional enough that it's like a kite.
Uh-huh.
Like, I don't think.
I love that.
I mean, yeah, God could do anything, but he's not going to choose a kite with holes in it. So it's like the kite has got to be semi-functional as a kite in order to fly.
Right.
I was like, so I thought there was holes in this kite. Why? Who patched them?
Yeah.
And I realized there might be other reasons or whatever, but I realized in my pursuit of trying to dissect this, a couple of things. One of the things you just said, I think you're entirely right. Like the thought itself is actually quite simple.
Right.
And I always hesitant to say this because I don't want people to get polarized because it's not about the person I'm going to talk about. But one of the things I listened to when I listened to this guy trying to explain like Trump's like communication style.
Right.
And one of the things they said that was effective in the first campaign, because you kind of listen to it and compared to other politicians, it kind of sounds pretty simple and like
overly simplistic.
Yeah, overly simplistic.
Yeah.
But what they said was like, remember like Inception, in the movie Inception, they said you have to get the idea to the simplest form, and that was the little whatever the spinning thing is. Yeah, that they put in the thing. They said that's what he did really well, is that he took the idea down to its simplest form and then hammered it. And I think with good pop songs, or maybe good worship songs, like there's you get the idea down to its simplest form, and then you grow from there. Like Inception, it's like you can build this amazing world, but you have to first start with the totem,
right?
And so I think that was kind of maybe one of the things that we stumbled upon unintentionally, but that was kind of.
But here, this
kind of worked.
This strong theme, this message of if this is worshiping you, God, then so will I.
Yeah. And then the other thing that I realized was because I thought too many lyrics. Like there's only one line that repeats itself, and it's if the stars are made to worship.
Have you ever messed up the lyrics on stage?
Yeah, but not terribly. Have you ever heard Pat's story?
No.
He's got the funniest story with it where he said somebody at his church was singing and they got to the second verse. And I've always been so scared I'm going to do this since he told me the story.
It's now in your mind.
So
no.
They get to the second chorus and they're like, and as you speak, 100 billion creatures disappear.
Oh my gosh. How terrifying would that be?
Thanos. Yeah. Just gone.
I guess, is that the rapture? I
so
don't know.
Yeah, that plagues me really. Every night I get there and I'm like, I made it. Thank God.
Well, Brooke was leading it at Passion one year.
Oh, that's right.
And she called, like the lyrics weren't popping up.
Yeah.
And she called. She goes, can I get the lyrics on the confidence monitor? Yeah. She goes, there's way too. She's like, this song has more words than the Minor Prophets. Or something. She made, it's really and everyone laughed. It was great and all that kind of stuff.
Well,
and then she let the fire out of the song as she does.
Yeah, she sounds amazing on that song. With the song, there's all these lyrics, so I thought no one's going to sing it. But one of the things I realized in kind of that when I did a bit of a post-mortem on it, I guess post-mortem is the wrong way to say it.
It's heavy. Still alive, heavy.
But I went through and realized most songs have like a lot of kind of melodic hooks or options, but less lyrics. Whereas that song has all the lyrics, but only 4 melodic lines.
For sure. Melodically, it's very similar shape.
Yes. Yeah. So it's got the first one's like da 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 da, which is the whole verse. Da 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 da.
Yeah.
Pretty much the same hook. Then the second one would be da 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 da. That's it.
Yep.
Third one da 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 da.
Right.
And then the da 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 da, which is the last line of the chorus and also the bridge.
Right.
And that's it. There's no other melodies in the whole song. So all you need to learn is those 4 little melodic phrases, which are all pretty simple.
Yep.
And that kind of anchors, I think, the rest of the lyrics.
So now with the lyrics, you can go
be a bit more explorative.
right.
Again, we didn't realize that's what we were doing.
Sure.
But maybe we did subconsciously because we kept mining away the other bits. So it'd be like, every time we'd be like, I feel like that section could be stronger.
Yeah.
What if we just do that thing we have over there? It was like, I think there was something in us that we kind of knew what we were doing.
Right.
But also...
Well, and when you sing those like super simple melodies like that, and it doesn't get... And it actually helps those melodies... It keeps them from getting boring.
Yeah.
Because now when I'm coming on that melody again, but I've got new lyrical information.
Exactly.
Right, totally.
Yeah, and I think without the change, it actually wouldn't work because the melody would get boring.
Right.
But yeah, you're right. It colors it differently every time. And then there's I think the fact that there's enough repeating the hooks, like the 100 billion thing in every chorus, and the as you speak is there every time.
Right.
And then if the da-da-da-da-da, so will I.
Yeah.
Like there's a framework.
Right, exactly.
Which can make it hard because then you accidentally sing the wrong lyric. But there is, as long as you have words in front of you,
you're good.
There's a framework.
Yeah. I mean, with the confidence minors, we got them all. Shout out to all our pro presenter friends. We love you. We see you.
Yeah.
We need you.
We do.
Yes.
Thank you.
Especially for songs Ben has written. We definitely need you. That's amazing. Well, what have you like, so you've taken that song and is there any line that's like really important to you that's in that song?
Yeah. The most important line to me in that song has always been, and Joel wrote this line. It was, if the wind goes where you send it, so will I.
Why is that important to you?
Because we would be doing it because that song kind of happened, and then like 3 weeks later, I'm in New York singing it.
Yeah.
And it just fully changed my life because now all of a sudden I'm in like, I didn't know I was in United for a while. Like,
that's how these things happen.
Yeah, I know. I didn't even know I was singing that song, actually. They never told me. Like, I still thought it was the demo vocal. So anyway, that kind of happened, changed my life. And all of a sudden I'm touring with like United and all around the world, which was amazing. And like Jess and Junie were so supportive, and like there was never any like feeling that I shouldn't be doing that.
Right.
But I'm still like leaving them. It was like every night.
You guys, young family.
It's
on the other side of the world. And
completely.
Right.
And every time I got to that line, I would get emotional because it's like, well, the wind has got me here. But for my wind to be here, it's like Jess's is like stationary at the minute, you know, like, and she's back in Sydney holding it down.
Yeah.
And so that always felt like a really sort of like, it felt like a costly kind of lyric to sing.
Yeah.
As grateful as I am. Because again, I like I'm really stoked to be doing what I'm doing.
Right.
And they're stoked for me. But it's like that. It's that weird tension. And I wrote a song, there's a song on my record called While I'm in the Wind.
Yeah.
Which is all about
kind
that.
of that.
Yeah.
You're kind of like pulling
like,
in that.
Yeah. The line at the end of it is like, it's kind of talking about all the kind of the things about being a dad.
Yep.
Like the mundane. It's like the things that you think you don't like.
Yep.
Like that I miss when I'm on the road. And you relate to this. Like and the line at the end is like, all the gold's in the dirt while I'm in the wind. And it's like that. And then at the end I snap because it was in the key that Taya does So Will I in. So if you listen really carefully, you can hear her kind of singing at the very end of it.
Brilliant. I love that.